Hi, my name is Indy. I don't know if anybody watched my video yesterday, but I wanted to send that privately and I don't know how. Is there any way on YouTube that I can send it to an individual privately so I don't have to post it up for everybody? If somebody could help me with that, and if you could just put that down in the comments there for me, I'd really appreciate that. Anyways, I guess tell you where I'm at today. It's really cold out. It's it's June, and I live in the warmest place in Canada. The weather here is unbelievable. We ha People come from everywhere to vacation here. The community I live in, or the city I live in, we have one lake on each side of town, and we're right in the center between those two lakes. So we get a lot of tourists. I can't believe in June that it's this cold out. This morning I've been waiting for the Jehovah's Witnesses because we've been getting them on the street a lot. Uh, just in the last week and a half. We haven't seen them much in the last couple of years, but this last week and a half, we've had a lot of witnesses on the street. And I don't know. Since it's Saturday, I figured they'd be here, but it's a little early yet. We'll see. Anyways, I was gonna talk about some stories about where I learned the most about the Jehovah's Witnesses and what they're all really like. The members, the faith, how they behave, what they're all about. And I found where I learned the most about the Jehovah's Witness faith itself, what people think, how they behave, their innermost thoughts, was when I was out door to door preaching. And I was going ever since I was a little kid. My little sister and I, from some of my first memories, are out door to door preaching with my mother and sisters, or my mother, father, and other brothers and sisters. I remember we went to this house, and I was been only going to school for a couple of years by that point, and I already stuck out in school because I was the only colored kid there. But I knew this girl, a really nice girl. She was, she didn't have a racist bone in her body, but we were out at her house, and I realized it was her house by her dad's truck that used to pick her up from school was parked out there. And this is a little bit out in the country from the city, yeah, it was the city. We used to live in the smallest city in Canada, and at that time they used to say it was the smallest city in the world. And we were out door to door preaching, and it was an elder's wife, or maybe two elders' wife. I'm not sure if wives, with my mother, my sister, myself. I'm not really positive if the other lady was, her husband was an elder at that time or still a ministerial servant. But I remember when we pulled up to the house, it was a beautiful house. They had a lot of money. And the sister driving the vehicle says, when Armageddon comes, I'm going to live out here, she said. And in my head, because I was a child, I thought she meant that, she'd like to build a house out there. It was years later when I realized that, because I heard it a fair bit out in the ministry. When you would see a house, they would talk about liking some property or wanting to live there, and after the Great Tribulation, that maybe they would be living in that house, or they'd like to live in that house. It was just sick, but I really thought that she wanted to build a house out in that area because it was gorgeous. But today I know that she wanted that house. She was lusting after that house, right? These are great Christians, aren't they? Beautiful Christians. Oh man, you really get to see someone's character and what they're truly all about when you're out in service going door to door. Some of the nastiest things I learned about people and what they were really made of, what they thought, what they believed in, and who they truly were out in field service. I remember when we got to that house, as soon as I saw that truck and I knew it was this girl's house, I didn't want to go up there. I was begging Jehovah, oh, please don't make me go up there. I was so embarrassed. I'm not ashamed to admit it today, but I was ashamed at the time and embarrassed. I didn't want to go. Luckily, my little sister went up. But I remember that elder's wife walking up there, and she had my mother and my little sister with her. And I remember how she was scoping out that property. To this day, I can see her. She's checking out everything. I'm sure she was thinking of where she's going to put this and she's going to put that after these people have been destroyed in Armageddon, right? At the time, I didn't know that, but I know that today. Oh man, because I heard it so many times. I just wanted to talk about stories about that door-to-door service from when I was a kid. I remember we were in a community on the island. I guess the name doesn't matter. We lived in Powell River, and my father was actually baptized at this time, but he had only been in for a couple of years by this point, and I was just little. They're going door to door preaching, and they keep a card, and on this card they list the name or the address, or the house number, address, and they have a do not call little thing, for people that are really abusive to Jehovah's Witnesses that you just don't want to call on. And it lists out everything for whether or not they, if you're going to make a return visit, got a positive response, everything. You check all these little boxes and you put the date on them, right? To keep track of your service work. Well, my dad comes up, we're doing the door to door. My dad comes up on this house and it's totally blank. There's nothing on this house, right? My dad goes, why is there nothing for this house? Well, this house is in a junkyard, a car junkyard and some other stuff, I think. And it had this big fence around it, barbed wire and wire fence all the way around this property because all this garbage they were protecting, old cars, whatever. And the house is up on the hill. You can see the house, but there's all these dogs in there. Apparently, nobody wanted to go up there, and only an idiot would climb, open a gate and climb in there with a bunch of guard dogs, right? And my father was just crazy about, getting the word out there at that time, because I think this is pre-1975. I was really little then. One of my first memories with door-to-door preaching. I was just a little kid. But my father says to the elder that we had in the car, this is one of the gentlemen that he'd actually first came into the faith with, or brought him into the faith. And this is way up north. We're down in Powell River now. Maybe that's why we moved there. I don't know. But he says to him, we have to get the word to everybody. If nobody calls on that house, Armageddon can't come because they haven't got God's word. Well, the brother says to my father, he goes, you're nuts. Those dogs will rip you apart. My father goes, well, if we don't do it, Armageddon can't come. He jumps out of the car, and the elder told him, nobody's going with you. If you want to do that, you're doing that on your own. My dad was just a nut. He's a psycho. He closes the door, and I remember the elder leaned over, and he knocked the lock button down on the door. They used to be up on the doors back in the day in the old cars. He locked the door on his side of the car. Like, he did not want to get those dogs. Like, they were going nuts at the fence. We were parked almost up to the gate at that time. I remember watching my father walk up to the gate there, and these dogs were going nuts. And he was standing there for quite a while holding his briefcase. And slowly the dogs stopped barking. And you can't hear anything because the windows are up. Everybody in the car is terrified those dogs are going to get them. All the dogs slowly stop barking. My father opens the gate. He gets in there with these dogs and starts walking. They're all following behind him. He walks all the way up to the house, knocks on the door. The lady opens the door, and he was up there for quite a while. When he comes back down, she'd taken one of everything. The watch shower, all the books he had. He had a return visit with her. I think she ended up having a Bible study or something because she couldn't believe that somebody would be, stupid enough probably to get in there with guard dogs. Like, it was insane. I was terrified. I was just a little kid, right? I couldn't have been much more than 3.5, 4 years old. Like, this is one of my first memories in door-to-door service. Only an idiot would do that. The lady was amazed that he made it up there, so of course she took everything. I don't know if anybody went back on that return visit. I can't remember. But I've had that thought in my head so many times. I've told this story, and over the years I've come to conclude that the only reason those dogs didn't rip him apart was because they probably realized he was just like them. He was an animal himself, right? Like, they screw loose, just a nut job, right? intelligent person, but violent and crazy, right? That's probably why the dogs didn't rip them apart. I'm already at 10 minutes on this video, so I shouldn't rattle on too much longer. I just wanted to tell some stories about door-to-door preaching while I was waiting to see if they showed up here today. I'm positive they will, because we've seen them so much, and the neighbors and I have been talking about it, from not seeing them hardly at all to seeing them so much. And it seems to be since I started putting up these videos. Before I really get rattling here, I better cut it short, tell you I love you all. And I am taking that video down that I put down yesterday. That was for one specific individual, for their family, and I'm sure their kids must have seen it by now. I hope. It is the weekend. So if you can give me a hand with figuring out how to send private videos through YouTube, because they didn't seem to have an email when we're talking on the phone. If it can't be done, that's fine too. I'll just do this and take them down after they've watched them. I got to figure out a name for this video today, because it'll be one of, HURTS Jehovah videos. Anyways, I love you all. Be good. We'll talk soon.